Okay, so I know the video is being kind of started literally halfway through, but I have always had a hard time finding decent videos and stuff on YouTube. There's a couple of good ones and stuff, but I just wanted to kind of explain some ins and outs of rebuilding a head for an 1198. So now I'm halfway through it right now. What we did is we pulled all the old components out, marked them and all kind of stuff like that, make sure everything's safe and organized. Now I replaced the valve seal guides, and I just wanted to show you guys you don't need a lot of crazy expensive Ducati specialty tools, something like that. Literally, you gotta be careful, but a pair of vice grips, you can modify the end like I did, and that will work for a slide hammer, and you can pull your old seals out. Just don't clamp them very hard, because your valve guides run through these seals. These seals sit on top of the valve guide, so do not clamp hard. Put them on there, kind of twist, and you can pull these out, and you can replace your valve seals. Once that's done, all you need is to, I don't know where I put it at. Most likely go. Oh, right here. To insert the new seals, if you put a little electrical tape over a small socket, I use 17 socket, or not 17, 7/16 socket, and make sure it's a 3/8, not a 1/4 inch drive, because the valve's got to go through it. All you're going to do to put the new seal in, you're going to put your valve back through the valve guide, where the top of the valve will come out. Carefully put the new seal over that valve, and just use your socket and press it over the top of the valve stem until it's seated against the head, and the valve will keep it going straight, and just put some pretty good pressure on it. Once it's seated, you'll feel it just kind of fall on there, and you can tap it on there to make sure it's seated, but it's really easy to do. Now we're going to rebuild the other side of the head. When you do those, you want to start with your closer rockers. These guys are your closers, these are your openers. So I'm going to start with my exhaust closer, which is right here. The two pins that retain these, your closers and your openers, they're going to be two different lengths. Okay, so your longer pin is your closer pin. What's that? Go play. Go play. So when y'all put these pins in, the easy way to do is find a small screw, something like that will thread into these pins. This is how you pull them out too. You don't need a slide hammer or nothing like that. It helps if they get stuck, but just find a small screw that'll thread into that pin. Just getting clean. A bit of oil, and you're going to slide it through. Once it gets thin, just kind of go back and forth a few times just to make sure it's not hanging up along the guide, and it's actually going through smooth. Get all the oil back in there. So once you slide it through, you're going to stop it about a 1/4 inch sticking out the other side right here. Show it. And then really easy. This piece here is going to go inside the spring. So the spring, the hook faces towards the inside the head. That's going to actually grab on the outside of that closer. This spacer goes inside the spring here, just like that. And pull down here. This back of this spring here is going to go on. Go here. Is going to go on the front side of this little those little tabs sticking up. So back of spring goes in that. This will slide onto this pin here. And you're going to slide the pin back through to where this will hold itself up. Then your closer. wipe everything off. I'm gonna go back through and clean everything really well before I reassemble it. Pretty much all this is right here, just a quick wipe down and reassemble oil. So that spring is going to go, it's gonna grab onto this right here. And you're gonna roll the rocket forward until, and kind of finagle it until this pin, once it's seat through, which is, there we go. And he's gonna push all the way through. So this is gonna, sometimes that screw will cause a, not a suction, but it won't let you push all the way through. So take a screw out and just on the side and make sure it's seated. And all you do is push it all the way until it doesn't stop anymore. Don't tap it, nothing like that, and that will be seated. Now, to hold that closer, it's easier if you go ahead and once you put the closer in to immediately put the valve on. But that closer is gonna keep moving on you. So all you do is grab a piece of string or a shoelace, something like that, and you pull that valve closed. And you can hook it right here on the exhaust manifold or the exhaust port, little bolt sticking out, and it'll hold that closer put right there. So now you can put the head on the side, grab the exhaust valve, You want to make sure you oil the valve, obviously, because you're sliding into the valve seat. But also, if you don't, you can end up tearing your valve valve stem seals. So oil that valve really good. I'll slide it up through the valve seat. And right now I'm on top of the seat, so you just kind of push a little harder, and you'll feel it pop through that valve seat, that valve stem seal, and now it's through. And just top the valve right there. Now what you can do is you can get your closer shim. Closer shim fit right on top of it. And you want to make sure that string or whatever is holding that valve is closed far enough where the top of the shim is below the groove that your retaining pins are going to be on. This right here is your retaining pin. So what I'll do is I'll put it right there on top of the valve. You can kind of close it a little further with your finger, and it's tedious. So use a small toothpick or something like that, and then kind of work this this retaining pin until it gets seated on that groove. This is honestly the hardest part of it right here. So, I mean, it's not hard, I think yet. Just now I got that one. I got one seated. I hope you guys can see this pretty well. I know it's being recorded on a cell phone, but hopefully it works. Once you get the pin kind of turned in the way it's supposed to be going, you can jostle this shim up and down a little bit. Sometimes I'll get it to catch, or it'll get to fall into that groove. If not, then you just gotta pop it out and try again. Damn it. So squeeze the closure a little bit until that valve until that shim starts falling down, and just nudge that shim pin, or retaining pins, I guess we can call them. I'm not sure what these are called actually, until it falls into place. There you go. All right, now they're both pretty well set. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna hold this closer, keep tension on it, and let your string off. You'll make sure that valve shim fully rises to where those are seated down inside there. You'll kind of feel it once it gets locked in, but make sure those are seated just like that down inside there. And then you can put your opener shim. That goes right there on top. And now the opener, or the opening rocker retaining pin. Again, just put a small screw. Make sure it's oiled. And again, like I cleaned the head really good. Make sure there's no junk, nothing like that in these ports. Push right through. That was tight for some reason. Okay. And then you grab your opening rocker. That will seat right there on that pin. And of all these, this is the only one that was kind of tight for me. So let's tap this in there. And once it's seated, you'll feel it be seated. This goes all the way and seats against the stop that's in there. That's pretty much it. Now we're going to do the intake closer. So always start with your closers. If not, that opening rocker will be in your way the entire time, and it's a pain in the butt. So once you get the first closer in, the second one is definitely the harder of the two, because it's gonna be, that first one's gonna be in the way. But I'll show you a trick how to set it. If you try, you'll see here in a second, if you try to put the spring in, and you try to actually attach it to the rocker itself, 9 times out of 10 you're not gonna be able to get it. I've only got one to set that way, so I don't set them like that anymore. So for this, like, the hard part is going to be getting that spring. This tab has to be in front of that stop that's down here. I don't know if you can see that stop. There's a stop right there. So this tab right here on the spring needs to be set in front of that. So what it's going to try to do is going to keep trying to pop behind it, but make sure it's set in front of there, and then that will be properly set up. And that's definitely the hardest part of your second closure once you install that, is getting that spring. So right now it's already just trying to go back behind there.
Big.
Go.
Freaking fat daughter drink all night.
God. I can cut that out.
That's fine, I don't care. Both y'all go away.
So freaking Bethany.
How about go inside so I can finish this stupid video?
Oh yeah, no, they did drink all of Brandy's creamer.
What's up?
No, they did drink all of Brandy's.
That's fine.
I can take that part out.
Oh, okay, leave it in. Oh my god. This piece of shit. You can cuss on YouTube, right?
Yeah. I don't think you get enough views to actually monetize it.
You still recording it?
Yep.
Alright. So, like I said, your second closer is the hardest thing to do in this whole freaking head. Is doing your second closer. And I am not a certified Ducati mechanic. Nothing like that. I've been working on these bikes for a good while, so the techniques and tricks and stuff I've kind of came up with and everything is because it's what I came across. So if there's better tricks and tips, please let me know. But it's been working for me. So once it's kind of behind, yeah, so it's just trying to see behind. Hopefully it does. All right, and the spring is behind there like it should be. So you can tap the pin. The rest of the way through. Oh man, what's going on? How is it moving? What's the surface? There's my tape. Alright. Sorry, your arm getting tired?
What?
Your arm getting tired?
Go away.
You can sit down. Fuck, man. It's very slippery. Okay. So now more or less set. The spring is. But you can tell. Shoulder. The spring is in the right spot, but it's all stupid and behind here, which is what happens. So kind of pain in the butt, and just be really careful not to mess with your any surface down here or scratch anything within it. Not probably going to catch all flack for using a screwdriver or whatever it is, but all you need to do is just get the spring to come forward. Once it comes forward enough, and get in front of this front rocker right here. There you go. So you got the spring set on that front rocker now. Now, all you gotta do is put the closer on. That's really good. So do not try to worry about setting the spring on the closer as you try to put it on there, because it's going to be really hard. So go and just get your closer in place. Try the pin, pull in. Now the pin's set. And now all you gotta do is get this spring to come out. Okay, look at now the spring's set. So mainly you gotta be really careful if you're gonna, when you put the last one in, you're gonna need a screwdriver or something like that, or it'd be better if you use like a piece of pry bar from like a nylon pry bar or something like that. I don't have one. Just be really careful. Don't nick any of your surfaces up here, and don't gouge any of the your rockers and stuff like that, especially on surfaces. Any surfaces or underside of here and nothing like that. You're just careful with it, and you kind of pay attention to where your screwdriver is going. You won't hurt anything. Now it's gonna be the same thing as a while ago. What you're gonna do is you're going to all you do is I'll back one of these bolts out from the intake. And come across the back side of one of the rockers, or the closer, I mean. Just real quick. I do a simple knot and tighten it down to where you have enough slack to grab it, but it's still going to pull that rocker forward. So that should be about right there. You don't need a whole lot. You don't have to pull the rocker all the way down like that, but it kind of helps to have that the extra pressure on it, so you don't have to. This stuff hurts trying to pull with your fingers. See, I didn't pull far enough. And then tight is not far enough. That's right though. Let's go this side. It pulls down. Good to catch on this intake bolt right here. Hopefully that's far enough. It probably isn't, but we'll see. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where she went. Oh, this up really good. Just be careful, you guys, doing the string, because this thing, if you have it pulled too far and that string lets go, and these closures smack on each other, these closures are very, very hard, and they'll chip easier than you think, and it's done. There's really not much you can do about it at that point. See, I don't have this closer. I don't have the string tight enough, but it should be. That should be fine. Are you actually recording like decently?
Yeah.
You guys don't know what the crap you're looking at. It's
Yep.
really frustrating to hit a video and like you don't even know that you can't see anything. Alright. Grab one of my retainers. Gonna pop right there on the side. Squeeze this down. Okay, so I got one set. So once one's set, it will hold itself and make sure it's set. Like completely set. Because if you don't and that string lets go, it can shoot these into oblivion.
We're gonna have to try some of this out. It's almost a 30-minute video.
That's good. On YouTube. Okay. Now I got the other closure, or the other pin set. I'll relieve this. There we go. That scared me. That popped. So that is set now. Aye. And then you opener shim right there on top.
Can I go and watch your part?
Okay.
Okay. I'm walking. Wait, Melanie, I have to get my shoes. You wanna come up? Let me come up. If you want.
You can go there.
If you wanna come with.
Oops. I should start this video like right when I was starting both heads and kind of show the whole process and stuff, but it'd be kind of repetitive to show off for. And you seat the pin and try to kind of check everything. Everything's nice and tight. And everything's set. That's pretty much it. Now you can put your cams on and get this torque down. I'll show you do those here in a second, and I'll just do another video on that. I mean, it's not hard to do. So what I did was completely tear the head down, remove all the valves, clean the valves up, remove all carbon deposits and stuff off the valves inside the head, replace the valve stem seals, and I lapped the valves down. So I don't have a video on lapping valves, but you can find them all on YouTube. They're real easy. For Ducatis, since it's a Desmotronic valve system, you're gonna have to, if you lap the valves, you're gonna have to redo your clearances. Typically, your closures are going to your closure clearances are going to change because the valve is, microns, basically shorter now because it's set. You lap them, they're setting a little further, so you have to recheck those clearances. But once you do that, like it's pretty good to go. But like I said, it's not hard to do. You guys just saw me how to completely rebuild the Desmotronic valve system. This is from an 1198. This will cover all the 1098 series, but also same thing for like 999s and pretty much any of the 4-valve Desmotronic valve, heads that Ducati makes. But all right, guys.